Good evening, everyone in Alberta, Canada, and beyond. It is Wednesday, March 6, 2024, and I'm Kerry Lambert, and I welcome you to an online webinar evening of solutions for a new Alberta brought to you by the Alberta Prosperity Project, also known as APP. APP's purpose is to educate, inspire, and unite all Albertans, businesses, and organizations to protect their prosperity, individual freedoms, rights, and self-determination by empowering the Alberta government to restructure Alberta's relationship within or without Canada. And thank you so much for coming out on a Wednesday. Of course, we couldn't do this without your help. If you can, please share this webinar. And likewise, if you can tell us where you're from in the comments, that's great. And you can also tell us what platform you're using. We're on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, LinkedIn, and Rumble, as well as after this live, look for us on video and audio sites like Apple, Spotify, BitChute, and Vimeo. I want to show you a couple of quick things on the website here. You may notice that my background is not my normal background. No, that is because I am not at home in Calgary. I am in Westlock. And if you go to the albertaprosperityproject.com and take a look under the events, you will see why I'm in Westlock, because we are actually doing a pension plan tour right now at the Westlock Memorial Hall with Nadine Wellwood, Tanner Day, and Corey Morgan. That's happening right now. If you're watching this, that means you're probably not there. So I guess you're stuck with watching myself and our esteemed guest in just a few moments here. But otherwise, please make sure that you do check out our other events that will be showing up on here as well. I know we've got a few other things going on here. We've got some chapter meetings. We also have another pension plan meeting that's happening in Beaumont on the 15th. That's next Friday. That's also at 7 o'clock. Same Nadine, Tanner, and Corey, and of course, tons of different questions. If you could, I would recommend you drive across the province, just hunting these people down, because they're so good in a wealth of knowledge, and it's great to be out and talking with people of similar mind, and especially when we're talking about something as important as an Alberta pension plan. So, and you can also go onto the website and get APP memberships. They're 1 year for $20, 2 years for $30, 3 years for $40, or you can make a donation. And I'd also like to recognize some of the volunteers that we've had working with us on the pension plan tours. And yes, you can become a volunteer too. All you have to do is just go onto the website there and go to the contact, and please send in your name, and we will definitely get a hold of you. So with that, tonight's episode is called What We Can Do and How to Get Involved. That doesn't sound like a really good title, but you know what? It's exactly what we want to, because we have Benita Pederson on. She is an advocate for the protection and restoration of individual rights, freedoms, and responsibilities. And her website is All Fired Up for Freedom. Of course, I don't have that up just yet. Give me a second. I'm going to just throw this into the banner. And don't forget to share this out. And usually we have APP's interim CEO, Mr. Christopher Scott, joining us. And if you've been following the drama this past week, so last week we were on, and Chris was driving out to the island, and he tried logging in and trying to talk, and unfortunately that just didn't work while you're driving through cellular patches. So he was going to do that again tonight, and actually he was going to run the webinar tonight from Mirror and near the Stop Cafe in his house. And unfortunately, he ended up running into some car trouble in Kamloops. So he's been stuck in Kamloops, but he is on the way, thankfully, and he will be back in Mirror hopefully early this next morning. That's the way we'll call it for now. And so good luck to your driving out there, Chris. And so unfortunately, he won't be able to join us, although who knows, he may stop off in Golden and just pop in and say hello. So with that, I'm going to just call upon Benita here in a second. And of course, this is a live webinar, so we encourage you to ask questions and make comments throughout the presentation. Just put 3 question marks before your questions, so it'll be flagged, and we can quickly view the questions. And one last thing is, I'm totally flying solo on the production, so I'm sorry if I actually totally screw up. Max is unavailable tonight too. He's actually at the meeting in Westlock. And of course, Chris can't help me out because he's somewhere on the road. So with that, let's bring on Benita. Hello,
Hi.
Benita. How are you?
Well, I'm just great, Kerry, and you're very entertaining. So we're still going to have a great show, even without Chris. It's okay.
We usually have a better show without Chris.
Don't tell him you said that. You'll get in big trouble.
No, that's we razz each other all the time, so it's all good. We're pretty good buds. And you know what? Here's a story that maybe our viewers and maybe you don't even recognize, that Chris and I actually met because of you. I don't know if you realize that. Well, actually, I won't say we met face to face kind of because of you. So, of course, I had a bar with my business partner, Marla Fraser. It was called Outlaws Tap House and Bar, and it closed down in Calgary due to the restrictions. You know, we figured we would stay open as long as we could. AGLC, AHS, blah, 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 shut us down. And so we decided, you know what, if we've got a couple of weeks off, what are we going to do? And so we went up. And this was when Chris had opened up his restaurant again, right, in January of 2021. And it's funny, I will actually say this publicly. You were doing illegal karaoke, as was I, but it was outdoors, social distance, whatever you want to call it. And so I drove up to the Whistle Stop Cafe and did karaoke with you and with Chris. And we became very, very quick, fast friends. And so that's all the story I have to tell you about that. But it's so because
I remember
of you.
That.
So,
and yes, I think Chris sang, I think he sang Johnny Cash that night, didn't he?
He always sings Folsom Prison. Yeah. And actually, next time you see him, ask him to sing Jolene. Yeah.
He does a great job. He does Jolene now? Oh, boy.
Yes, he does. He actually does a really good job on that, too. So anyways, we won't get into that anymore. The reason we've got you on, of course, is we want to talk about municipal politics and how you can get involved in any sort of politics, whether it's federal, provincial, or municipal. And of course, you have some great ideas and great experience dealing with municipal, as well as the story of this town that I'm in right now is Westlock, and you live in Westlock.
Yes, and welcome to Westlock. And Westlock, yes. We've had quite a lot of drama in Westlock over this past year, and I'm excited to share with you about it.
Yes, and you know what? Why don't we just jump right into that? Because of course the main thing that happened that I was aware of like last month was that there was a plebiscite here on the Rainbow Crosswalk, right? And we've kind of talked about that. And let me just go on a little side tangent here. We've talked about collecting signatures for a referendum on independence. And that's kind of what Alberta's Prosperity Project does, right? So we're asking people if they're able to, and I'm just going to throw up the little blurb on here somewhere. If you can, go to, that's not the one I wanted, but it's the ticker anyways. Go to bit.ly/AB vote yes. And you can register in order to get your name put in basically a list, so that when the referendum is called, we have a quick way of getting a hold of you, cell phone, whatever. And I think that's the important thing. And I'm just going to continue on that conversation. That is what should have happened with the recall Gondek mayor in Calgary. And unfortunately, that didn't happen in that precise arrangement. So that's why now there's a scramble in order to get, I believe it's like 300,000. Actually, they were calling for 500,000 signatures, but I think if we got 300,000, I think that would definitely show a really good, strong message to the government, whether it's provincially or municipally, that we want the mayor out, and that's kind of what we're looking at, and we can use that knowledge going further with this the whole referendum on the province of independence. But you have experience going into that, so why don't we go back in time a little bit, back to when you got involved. I'll give you a couple of minutes just to kind of introduce yourself, because I know many of our viewers know you, but I do want to get a bit of a backstory into how you even got into doing the municipal plebiscite, because you've been involved in this for a couple of years now, and not just in terms of the plebiscite, but just being involved in the community and rallies, etc. So you've got the floor now. Do with it as you will, Benita.
Okay. Well, I started doing rallies in 2021, and I've helped out in communities across the province and even outside Alberta as well. And I do online events too. But what's standing out to me in this moment as one of the most significant times was June of 2023 in Westlock. And there's some people, you know, they've heard about the plebiscite and how it was a successful plebiscite, February 22nd, with 24 votes. And a lot of people have also heard about the petition. And it was the neutrality team that did this amazing petition in August and September of 2023. And because of the success of that petition, that's what led to the plebiscite. But a lot of people, they don't know the backstory of what happened back in June 2023, which helped raise awareness for this whole issue.
Okay. So tell us that story then.
Okay, well, I was doing some stuff with the provincial election in May of 2023, and then the election results were in and the election was done. So finally, with the provincial election wrapped up, I had time to basically open my local newspaper again and look at local news. And that's when I found out that the council of the town of Westlock had plans to paint a rainbow crosswalk. And that didn't sit well with me. And one of the things people need to understand is when we oppose rainbow crosswalks, it is not that we oppose individuals who identify as LGB, etc. This is not about hatred. It's simply about healthy boundaries. And what I've come to recognize is that the advancement of the pride movement or the transgender agenda, these are all things that serve the United Nations and their goals. Now, a lot of people haven't yet realized that. They'll come to that realization later. And so, in other words, I don't want a symbol endorsed by the United Nations painted on my roadway. It's not right. And there are people that think that that symbol is just about love and inclusivity, but that symbol, it has other meanings as well. And so I just didn't want it painted on the pavement. And so I ignited into action in early June of 2023. And my first action was a flyer campaign. So do you have flyer number 1 ready?
You can, yeah. Well, actually, I'm not sure the numbers, but we'll throw up a couple. I'm not sure if you can see. That's probably not that one. Probably, nope, that's not the right one here. Let's try.
It's the one that had most of the text on it and probably a little bit of color on the right top area.
This is the production part that I said that I'm not doing very well on here. So just give me a second here. I've got a few of these here. So it's probably this one here. Let me just call this one up.
Sure, give it a shot. See if
Does that one work? There you go.
Well, it'll work. So I had a flyer out before this one, but that's okay. This is fine.
Okay.
So before this flyer went out, I had a different flyer go out. And on that other flyer, what I did is it's not enough to just put out a flyer and share information with people. What I think is important is every flyer you put out when you're distributing flyers door to door or on windshields or whatever you're doing, make sure it's got a call to action. So on the first flyer that I distributed, there was a call to action on there. And the call to action, that might be the one or the other one. There's one more.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, it's okay. There's more than one. There's several. I did a few.
There you go.
But the call to action clearly stated, if you don't want a rainbow crosswalk in town, contact the elected representatives, contact the CAO. And I put on the flyer the email addresses of all the elected reps, everybody on council, and the phone numbers, because all of that information was available at westlock.ca. It was available at the municipal website. So I said to people, contact them. Then the other thing I said, on the bottom here, you can see it says, better yet, apply by 12 p.m. on Wednesday, June 7th to present as a delegation at the June 12th council meeting. To be a delegation, apply, blah, 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 email this address, call this number. So what I did on the flyer is I gave people very specific instructions of what to do with the call to action. I didn't just say write to the mayor. I gave them the email address and the cell number of the mayor, because it's public information. It was on the website. And people took action on this. And there were 2 people that actually signed up to be a delegation at the June 12th meeting. And both of those individuals delivered very impactful presentations on June 12th. So thanks for sharing that flyer, Kerry.
That is awesome. Awesome.
Yeah, so it was actually 2 flyer campaigns in early June. And what I did with the first flyer is I didn't have a lot of money, so I only printed 300, and I thought, okay, what am I going to do with 300 flyers? I've only got 300. So I decided to target the windshields of cars at churches, because I intuitively knew that folks going to churches might have concerns about a rainbow crosswalk and that they may be inspired to take action. And I was right. After distributing those flyers, like I say, 2 people signed up to be delegations at the upcoming meeting. Multiple people emailed, called, and texted elected reps and administration. So in June, part of the action was flyer campaigns to raise awareness for the issue. So 2 flyer campaigns. Another thing we did is we did a rally right outside town council chambers during that June 12th meeting. So there was a whole bunch of people there. We had the maximum amount of people possible allowed in chambers, plus our people filled the hallway to chambers, plus we had another 80 people outside for the rally. And I had my sound system and my generator, and I had my signs up was saying we don't want a rainbow crosswalk. And council knew why we were there. Like, this is highly unusual. Our council meetings in our sleepy little town, most of the times you get 0 to 1 or 2 or 3 people at a council meeting. Like, that's it. And here they had over 100. And so it's obvious that this is a contentious issue. And it's very concerning to me that we have these councillors that basically say things like, well, it's, people like Benita who have contributed to divisiveness in this town. And what they won't do is take accountability for the fact that they chose to put in a rainbow crosswalk, and that's what caused divisiveness in the town. So they refuse to take ownership of the root cause of the issue. And the mayor put out a statement. It's on my Facebook page if anybody wants to see. But essentially, he's calling anybody who opposes a rainbow crosswalk a hateful bigot. That's basically what he's doing. And he's accusing us of spreading misinformation. And he was referring to my flyer campaign. I stand by every word that I put in those flyers. And those flyers are on my Facebook page. If you want to read them, you want to criticize them, you go right ahead. They're there for all the public to see. So there was a lot of drama. June 2023, we had these 2 people present to council. We had the rally at council. We had the flyers. Now, a lot of people don't know that there were actually 3 petitions. Okay. So talk about building momentum before the real thing happened. There was an online petition in early June, and I don't even know the name of the person who set it up, but they used the website change.org, and I do not recommend change.org. And what happened is they started this petition. They were opposed to the rainbow crosswalk. I think they collected 500 signatures very quickly. Like, it took not even a week. They had 500 signatures, and then poof, the petition disappeared, along with all the data that went with it. So suddenly we had no petition. So I scrambled together a petition at the last moment, and I brought it to that rally on June 12th outside the council meeting, saying we don't want a rainbow crosswalk. Public spaces need to be neutral places. And I had this quick petition done up. Now, at that time, I didn't have any experience with petitions, not much at all. And so, at least not municipal ones. And so my petition wasn't the greatest, okay? And I was really trying to stop that rainbow crosswalk. They had it scheduled for June 18th. And it's interesting how God works, because they got rained out. They could not paint the crosswalk on Father's Day after all. So June 18th, it turned out no painting. So then they rescheduled for later in June. So it would have been, I believe, June 27th might have been the day they rescheduled for. And so I had another extra week to get petition signatures. So I was scrambling getting petition signatures. And in a municipal petition, it has to be signatures of the municipality. So if you live outside of Westlock, even if you're just in nearby Westlock County, your signature doesn't have as much power as that local signature. So we had that. And then I submitted that petition to the chief administrative officer on Monday of the following week. So the day before the crosswalks to be painted. And she accepted it. But because it had less than 10% of the population signing it, and we didn't follow all the little rules, there's a lot of little rules with municipal petitions, she basically disregarded it. So she took it as information, and they went ahead and they painted that rainbow crosswalk. And there had been talk, like so much drama. just because I'm opposing a rainbow crosswalk, people in the community accused me of being homophobic or transphobic or full of hate. And it's not about that at all. And I actually interacted with a number of people who identify as LGBTQ, and we had some good conversations. I even hosted 2 online events where before the rainbow crosswalk was painted, and I said, should there be a rainbow crosswalk in Westlock? So one of those events was on the 18th. And I had a guest on that event who he works with an LGBTQ support network in Alberta. And basically they support individuals who've been bullied or who've lost their homes or something because they came out. And so in many ways, he's a kind individual, really cares about people. And he was willing to come on my show and talk about why there should be a rainbow crosswalk in Westlock. Okay. And so I had him on the show and I just let him talk and I let him share. What was interesting, though, is when it was my turn to talk about why we don't need rainbow crosswalks are not going to solve the bullying problems. Rainbow crosswalks adds to bullying because this rainbow crosswalk is a contentious symbol that doesn't resonate with a lot of people. And when you put a contentious symbol in front of people, think along the lines of the Confederate flag and how that triggers people. They're very offended by the Confederate flag. Okay, they're offended by swastikas. When you put a contentious symbol in front of people and you're basically forcing them to accept it, that's bullying. Right there, that is a form of bullying. And so the rainbow crosswalk itself, it doesn't work to alleviate bullying at all. It amplifies it. So this town council's supposed, we're just doing this to show community support for a group. No. What they did is they created unnecessary division within our peaceful little community. And in a sense, a war, because people have very strong views on this issue. Some people refer to the pride, the progressive pride flag as a sex flag, and they don't want it on the street. They don't. That symbol has been associated with a lot of events that have crossed boundaries with children. That is now a contentious symbol. And there are parents, they don't want their children being exposed to that symbol because of what that symbol has been associated with. So this, basically there was this war in Westlock. And so there was a ton of drama in June of 2023. We had the flyer campaigns, we had the rally outside council chambers, we had a rally outside town office, we had online events where people are discussing the rainbow crosswalk, we had the petition submitted. So all this stuff happened. And they painted it anyway. Council ignored the voice of the people. 2 individuals presented at the June 12th meeting. One was Stephanie Baker, who you'll hear more about shortly. The other was David Thomas. And they both delivered excellent presentations on June 12th. I would love for everybody to watch the recording of that meeting so you can learn a little bit about what it's like to present to council. Yes, everybody needs to learn about this. You have to get over your fear of public speaking, your fear of intimidation, your fear of public backlash. We all need the skin of a rhinoceros, because as soon as you jump into something you're passionate about, so never even mind rainbow crosswalks, there's 100 other subjects we could be talking about. As soon as you're passionate, there'll be people who attack. And if you're going to let every attack get under your skin and hurt your feelings, that's going to drain you. So you need to go in with this mental toughness, like, I can do this no matter what, and contact people like me and I'll help give you encouragement and boosting and ideas. And so June 2023 was quite the month. Any questions about June, Kerry?
No, that's it. Well, first of all, let's just put this into perspective. How big is Westlock? What's the population of Westlock?
There was a time we were over 5,000 people. We're now under 5,000 people. We're closer to 4,800. And I have a reason to believe one of the reasons some people left town is because our council is so leftist. Whether it was COVID restrictions or whatever, our council just leans too far left. So we lost some people.
Okay, because I know you said initially that you had about 100 people at the council chambers for the meeting. And again, 100 anywhere is a large number, but to have such a small population, if you had 100 people in Calgary, they would just go, yeah, these guys are such a fringe minority, it doesn't even matter. But in 100 out of a town of 4,800 or so, that is a significant number, right? And so I'm just going to jump ahead just slightly to ask about when the actual plebiscite happened. Do you remember what the voting was? I know there was like by 20 votes or something like that of basically saying no, we don't want the crosswalk.
There was 1,300 votes, so it was 663 that said yes for a bylaw on neutrality, which therefore means no rainbow crosswalks, no Indigenous crosswalks, no themed crosswalks. That's what that means. Yeah. So, and then it was 639 votes that voted no against the bylaw on neutrality. So in other words, they support a rainbow crosswalk. That was a difference of 24 votes.
That's right. Yeah. So, and again, these are so close. It's no wonder everything is divided, right? You'd almost say it's 50-50, and it really is, right? And these are the numbers that I always say to people, look, if you actually want to go out and make a difference, then vote. Your vote could have teetered it one way or the other, right? And there may have been 20 people on the left side that said, well, my vote's not going to count, so it's not going to matter. And guess what? It probably would have mattered. And the same thing on and if you want to call it voting yes for the vote on neutrality. If there were 20 more, then it would have looked a lot more than just this narrow margin, right?
Hey, every vote counts, Kerry. I agree with you. Absolutely. And I'm carrying a little bit of guilt because that was the week that Tony Olenek and Chris Carbert had pre-trial in Lethbridge. So I went to Lethbridge to support the Coutts Ford, particularly those two. So I wasn't even there for the vote.
You're right. I was there too.
A little bit of irony.
You and I saw each other. Yeah, I know exactly. You weren't there for the votes.
I know, but you know what? I spent a lot of time in prayer that week. Like I was praying. I do singing prayers, and I'm like, Lord, we need a yes today. Lord, we need a yes. And so I was singing in my hotel room the day of the vote, waiting for the results.
Did they not have a vote that you could vote ahead of time?
No, not for this plebiscite. And I'm fine with that because sometimes those ahead of time votes or those votes where you vote remotely, there's a lot of room there for things to go sideways. So I prefer it like this, in-person voting only.
Yes, no, and paper by absolutely, right? So so that's kind of, I guess, the only question I really had in regards to the June 2023, but the change.org question. And you said that you didn't, you would not recommend that. Did you look further into like who manages or who created the online petition, I guess, for that, number one? And number two, like what happens with change.org? Is it the fact that maybe you have to pay money to keep that going, and if there's no money going, then they close the website up? Or
I'm not sure. I didn't know who initiated the petition. I just remember seeing it and being glad that there was one because it was helping create momentum and awareness for this. And then when the petition was gone, I was like, ah! So I started one.
And the other question I did have is rules for petitions and whether or not there are a difference for municipality or municipal or elections or plebiscites versus something provincially. I don't know if we want to start getting into that right now or if we still want to continue the story because there's still more of this story that happened in Westlock.
Well, I want to share with you a couple of rules about petitions, but first, can you show that video I sent you, the one on the Rumble? It's 1 minute, 40 seconds long. Sure. And this was a video that was released in early June to help create awareness for the issue. And this video helped. Now, it was created by a community member in Westlock. I worked with her for the creation of this video. This video got thousands and thousands of views. People were reacting, right? So if you're working on something, whether it's a Rainbow Crosswalk project or another project, one of the things you want to consider doing is creating a video that's going to touch emotions. Maybe something like this.
Okay, let's take a look. Yes, I remember seeing those videos. And are these all story times?
These videos were extracted from communities that had rainbow crosswalks. So it wasn't always a story time, but it was drag queen events, including children.
Yeah.
And so when I had my petition going, this was one of the videos used to promote it. And so that people would sign my petition in June of 2023. So the petition I composed at that time is just something I threw together because I didn't know the rules yet of municipal petitions. And then this video was made to promote it. And there was a business in Westlock that was kind enough to host the petition. And they're basically open 9 to 5, Monday to Friday. So they were willing to have the petition on premises and collect signatures for me. But like I say, I only had a couple weeks. Like I started the petition June 12th, and then I submitted it 2 weeks later, and I only got 130 signatures in those 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Right. I was throwing it together. I was trying to beat the rainbow crosswalk. And the day I submitted the petition to the CAO, they painted the rainbow crosswalk the next day.
Yeah.
So after that, I took a step back and I was working on other projects because I have multiple projects I'm working on and I'm helping other communities as well. I serve as a advisor sometimes to people working on special projects. So they consult me about stuff and I give suggestions and a little motivation. And anyway, but what was great is this wonderful team picked up the torch and took action. They did not give up. The rainbow crosswalk was painted, but this team, they called the neutrality team, the Westlock neutrality team, came together. And what they did is they wrote a proper petition and they followed all the petition rules. And then they went to town council and gave town council a heads up that there's this new petition coming out. And since it's one of the official municipal petitions, that means you only have a 60-day window to get your signatures. From the day you launch it and you start collecting signatures, you have 60 days. And if you want it to be a binding petition at the municipal level, you need 10% of the population to sign it. So you've only got 60 days to get 10% of the population. And this amazing team sent people door to door collecting petition signatures. They didn't even need the whole 60 days. They had over 700 signatures in like 45 days. It was amazing.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. And so I sent you a picture of a giant banner, Kerry. I was hoping you would show that. It's on the side of a truck.
That's right too. Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's see.
The banner on the truck. Because what I was doing that day is that was the day of the fair parade in the town of Westlock. And I set up this banner on this trailer on basically one of the busiest days in town in August, and that's our fair days. Our fair days are very busy days, and that's the big banner that I had. So it doesn't say sign the petition, but it does say reject Agenda 2030. So the people who are awake, they understand what that means, and they stopped in. Plus, we had some people who are just merely curious, and they stopped in, like, why are you here? What is this all about? And so I shared with them, and I collected signatures on that petition about the Rainbow Crosswalk as well. So there's just so many things we can do: signage, door-to-door, flyer distribution, petitions. We have a lot of tools that we can use to make a difference.
And that's kind of what I was going to ask, is that, you know, what was the big thing that helped out in your particular the plebiscite and in Westlock, and of course it all comes down to, like you said, flyers. There's signage. You get out, you do rallies and all that. Time and money. And it doesn't matter which side of the agenda or which side of the that you're looking at. either side is going to take time and money and people, right? So, and that equates to money too, because there are so many people out there that I want to get involved and I want to do something, but I don't know what to do. And so I'm going to sit back and do nothing. Or how can I get involved? Can I just throw $20 at something? Can I actually get involved and help create signage? Am I good at computers? Can I do video? Can I do, and I think that's really what we want to talk about today too, is how do people get involved, and what can they do? What skills can they bring? And because, like you said, this was just one example. There are so many examples, whether or not you want to counteract carbon capture or climate change, or maybe you're for it. I mean, if you're for it and you've got the ability to help that side out, then you know what, I will fight to the death to let you have that ability to do that, because that's what being in a free country is all about. And if it's a matter of us saying, yes, you should be doing it, or no, you should be doing it, or you shouldn't be doing it, give me the reasons, and I will definitely help out whatever is possible. So having said all of that, so we know, you didn't finish the story on what exactly happened in terms of the plebiscite, and so what are the next stages? Because I think that's an important part of the story as well.
Well, okay, so first of all, they got their signatures in the time they needed. They submitted the signatures before the 60-day deadline, because then that way, if something went sideways, they had that window of extra time. The CAO accepted the signatures. The signatures were verified in the 45 days, so by the end of October. And then here's what's interesting. The mayor resigned.
Wow.
The mayor resigned shortly after that petition was submitted and validated. And he resigned on Friday, November 10th. And there's a lot of questions about why the mayor resigned. Now, simultaneously to the mayor resigning, one of the councillors resigned because he was running for mayor. So that's just part of the drama of November. So then on November 27th, because that petition was a binding petition, it was written in a specific way. It had more than 10% of the population signing it in 60 days. Other rules are there were people swearing to the signatures. So it's not enough to just hand out a petition to have people sign it. People had to swear to the signatures, and then they had to swear to a commissioner of oaths that they genuinely collected these signatures from these people. So it's a multi-step process. The other part is, as people are signing the petition, the person collecting the petition signatures says, just so you know, signing this petition isn't enough. There will be other steps after this. For example, there'll be a plebiscite. Can we follow up with you to connect with you about that plebiscite? And people would say, yes, of course. So I just want everyone to realize that signing a petition is not enough. There are these other steps, right? And if all you're doing is signing a petition, that's often not enough. So, Kerry, one of the things I want to point out is one of the things that happened at the November 27th council meeting. So council, in a sense, was forced, due to the Municipal Governance Act of Alberta rules, to do first reading on a bylaw on neutrality. So they did that. And because the entire 5 people left on council disagree with this petition, they refused to do second reading and third reading, and instead they put the matter to plebiscite and scheduled it for February 22nd.
All right.
Now, plus they had a whole bunch of choice words. One of those councillors referred to the people who support petitions like this. So this is the voice of the people, right? You're signing a petition because it's something you believe in. She called it lipstick on bigotry. That's what she said. She insulted us. She said it's lipstick on bigotry. She called people bigots because they're signing a petition on neutrality. They kept accusing supporters of the petition of being hateful, when really we're not hateful. We just want public spaces to be neutral places. So it's just not right. This town council they're crazy. So then immediately after scheduling the plebiscite, then the very next motion, the very next resolution on the agenda was a resolution to join the Coalition of Inclusive Municipalities. Now, whenever I hear that word inclusive, little red flags go off in my brain. And I hope red flags go off in your brain, because inclusive does not always mean inclusive. Sometimes inclusive means we're going to make you follow a bunch of rules you don't like in the name of inclusivity.
Yeah.
So I researched the Coalition of Inclusive Municipalities, and I found out it's attached to the United Nations, and it's one of the United Nations initiatives that's used to advance the Sustainable Development Goals of the United Nations. So I decided to run for town council as a candidate in December and January. The by-election was January 10th, and one of my campaign points was to raise awareness for this, and I would work towards repealing it. As in, we don't want this. We don't want to be connected to the United Nations in this way. Now, I didn't win my seat on council, but I'm not discouraged at all, and I will run again. Sorry, I went off on a tangent there. Go ahead, Kerry.
That was great. There's so much to unpack about this entire story, and really, let's just try and finish the story, because the idea is that we want to ask people what they can do, or tell people how they can get involved. And I think you need to know how the story ends and what transpired in order to get to that. So we're talking about in January now, and then what ends up happening in terms of, can we actually go ahead and do a plebiscite? What was that process like?
Well, the plebiscite was scheduled on November 27th for February 22nd. So it was a done deal.
Okay.
So that's a done deal. And then the Neutrality Committee, they're amazing. So they've got this fantastic website. It's westlockneutrality.com. Okay. One of the main leaders is Stephanie Baker. There's that name again. She was one of the people that spoke at the June 12th, 2023 council meeting. And so she, in a sense, served as the face of the Neutrality Committee. And so they have this website going. There it is. And now the Neutrality team is working to inspire other communities to do similar things. So is your town council considering a rainbow crosswalk and you want to stop it? Does your community already have a rainbow crosswalk and you want to get rid of it? Would you like to be inspired by the success of Westlock? Well, one of the organizations you can contact is Westlock Neutrality. Another one is me, because I take a slightly different approach. I'm a little more aggressive. And so that's happening. So my understanding is the week before the plebiscite on February 22nd, the Neutrality team got in touch with all 700 people who signed that petition and reminded them to vote. And sure enough, 664 people made it and voted. 663, sorry. Wow. And they voted yes. Yeah.
So now what happens?
I believe it's on Monday. Let me just double check. I marked my calendar that the bylaw on neutrality gets sworn into law. Okay. And so I'm just going to check here. I think it's on Monday. Yep. I marked my calendar Monday, the 11th of March. Westlock Town Council passes the bylaw on neutrality.
Okay.
So it's official. And then the crosswalk will be removed, not necessarily immediately after that, but more likely when the weather's more appropriate to do so. And it'll be repainted in the proper colors of black and white.
Okay. I know when I'm, driving anywhere and I see there's pretty much, as we all know, the rules of the traffic, there's certain colors: red, stop; yellow, yield. Likewise, lines on the streets are all in white, and unless it's you're not supposed to go into that lane, it's a yellow, right? When I start to see different colors, first of all, it's confusing as to, and it doesn't necessarily even have to be a rainbow. Let's just say it's blue on gray. Like, good luck trying to find that, or pink on gray, and pink then fades back to white. The question for that is that I really think that it doesn't matter where you are, if it's traffic and if it's just, it should be neutral. There shouldn't be any colors to distract you while you're driving. Certainly that way. And likewise, at a crosswalk, I mean, the point of that, I understand that there are some people that are really up in arms about they'd like to see rainbows. You know what? As far as I know, this plebiscite doesn't say anything about you can't fly your own flag at your house. You can't paint your fence to be a rainbow color. Do you want to make any comments on that? Like, I think it's just in neutral spaces that are the jurisdiction of the town. Is that correct?
Yeah, the scope of the bylaw is just crosswalks and municipal flagpoles. Yes. So Westlock has, to my knowledge, has actually technically never flown a pride flag on the municipal flagpoles, but the neutrality committee decided to be proactive and prevent that from happening. And so at the scope of the neutrality bylaw is just crosswalks and municipal flagpoles. That's it. So if you know, let's say you wanted a pride flag in the front window of your home or on your front lawn, like, you go ahead. Yeah, you can have personal free expression. Go ahead.
Yeah, and I agree with that. Like, do whatever you want. Like, if I want to fly an Alberta flag on the front of my house, then I'm going to do that. And if my neighbor happens to fly a rainbow flag, well, then that's fine too. I'm certainly not going to take it up with the town about that, right? But it really does come down to the point of if it belongs to the city and everyone's paying their tax dollars into this, I think things should be neutral. Period. Right?
Yeah, I'm in agreement, and I think when we do those extra things, like we decorate for a community. So take, for example, Christmas. Yeah. Westlock was founded by Christians. Westlock, there's a lot of like traditional Christian values. And so the people of Westlock celebrate Christmas. Okay, that's what we do every year. And even non-Christians join in the celebration of Christmas. I have personally helped with the Westlock Christmas Light Up Parade for like 7 years. Yeah. And so we have our Christmas decorations on the light poles every year. And that's in part because it honors our history of our town and it resonates with the majority of residents. Mm-hmm. So this neutrality bylaw doesn't affect light poles. Okay, it's not saying you can't have Christmas decorations. We can still have Christmas decorations. They honor the history of our town and they resonate with the majority of residents. So of course we'll still continue to have Christmas decorations. There's been a lot of people, they tend to deliberately misunderstand things and twist things. And as much as I'm entertained by it, I get a little frustrated sometimes that instead of just reading the bylaw and understanding the bylaw and the scope of it, like if you just read it and understood it rather than deliberately attempt to twist it, because it's just such a waste of time and energy. It's silly.
Yeah. So let's talk about if you're involved in your community, or if you want to get involved in your community and right now you don't know how to do that, what is the best course of action in order to do that? Because there are lots of people out there that just, they may have an opinion on something and they just want to know how they can get that opinion out there.
Okay, so we need to build community teams. So yes, one person can make a difference, but it's a lot more fun and it's easier if you've got a team. So even if you can build a core team of 4 people, 5 people, you guys can work miracles, okay? There have been times I've done things amazing with just 2 people. Okay, so imagine if you could build a team of 4 or 5 in your community. It very well may be that there's a group that already exists that might be receptive to your ideas and ready to take action with you. Okay, but even if not, you can still build a team of 4 or 5 people. The allies will come later. So what I do is I've created a tool. So it's www.tinyurl.com/team conservatize. And so I use the term conservatize because it has to do with conservative values where we respect the privacy and the individual freedom and individual responsibilities of the people. So it doesn't have anything to do with a political party. It has to do with values, conservative values. So you can be apolitical and still be involved in this. Mm-hmm. And so I meant to write url.com/team conservatize. And what that does is you put your name on there and your email address, but it also is going to ask you your skills. So do you want to make signs? Do you want to do graphic design? Do you want to do website development? Do you want to go door to door? Do you want to make phone calls? What are all the things that you would like to do to help with the momentum of an initiative? And one of the initiatives I'm working on right now is cancel the carbon tax. And I'm actually planning to do multiple petitions with it, like multiple petitions simultaneously, municipal, provincial, federal, and online, cancel the carbon tax. And I'm looking for teammates and communities across Canada to help with this. And so we'll get like the provincial, obviously Alberta-wide would be a standardized petition for the province. To make the proper municipal petitions, it'll take a little bit more composition because, okay, a lot of people seem to think that, oh, if I want to change something at the provincial level, I have to have a provincial petition. Or if I want to change something at the federal level, I have to have a federal petition. Yes and no. You are right to an extent. However, do not underestimate the power of influencing your local municipality, okay? So what could the municipal council do to cancel the carbon tax? It kind of feels like it's out of our control, right? If let's say I was a mayor, I can't necessarily cancel the carbon tax, but maybe I could refuse to pay it. If the municipality's getting billed carbon tax on something, I could refuse to pay it. Or our municipal council could write a letter to the federal government saying, we oppose the carbon tax. Now, just imagine if 800 municipal councils across Canada said to Justin Trudeau, cancel the carbon tax. And so that's why we want petitions at a municipal level, putting pressure on our municipal councils, saying push towards the cancellation of the carbon tax. So people just need to understand that there's so much you can do. Like, don't lose hope. There's things we can do. What just happened with that February 22nd plebiscite in Westlock is proof that when people get coordinated, strategic, take action, you can make a difference.
Yeah, no, that's true. And likewise, you know, you coordinated it in order to get rid of the crosswalk, but obviously there was some sort of a coordinated effort in order to get one there. Right. And am I mistaken in that? Like, obviously someone just didn't say, you know, this is a good idea, we should just paint a crosswalk. There probably was a process. They probably went in and maybe they got a bunch of signatures and a bunch of people, and they came in and actually formalized it. And then that was presented, and then town council said yes. Or am I wrong on that?
There was a small group of people that approached Westlock Town Council requesting a rainbow crosswalk. But what was interesting about that is one of the supporters of the rainbow crosswalk in Westlock is a Liberal MP in Edmonton by the name of Randy Boissonneau. And he was at more than one Westlock Town Council meeting speaking in favor of the rainbow crosswalk. So our local MP is a Conservative Party of Canada MP. Why is this Liberal MP in our municipal business? So to me, there's something very suspicious about that. And personally, I'd eventually like to see an investigation of the roots of all this, if it's worthwhile, to find out about the other forces at work that are pushing for a rainbow crosswalk. Because I have reason to believe that it wasn't just the GSA club at the local high school. I think there were other influences there.
Okay, well, that's good to know too, because I think there's always two sides to a story, right? So if something is happening, how did that happen, and then how can we prevent it, right? So likewise, I think the important part of this whole conversation is, if you want to get involved, if you have a belief on both sides or either side, and you want to get involved, I think get involved, right? And who knows, we may learn something else about anything. So I think that's good. So we've got get involved with teams, right? And it, like, where else do you find those teams? Obviously, if you had a group of 4 or 5 people, you extend your reach. Maybe they're out on social media. Maybe they have some friends in a certain area that are able to get involved, and that sort of situation. But if you're on your own and you don't have a team, what is the suggestion? Is it just to go on social media and try and find something, or maybe go on Telegram, or go on some of these other less known but certainly well worked social media?
Well, there's these wonderful things called voice of groups now. Okay. Voice of Thorhild County, for example. Voice of Barhead County just launched last week. Okay. I think there's now Voice of Strathcona County, and just so many. They're popping up. So look for the Voice of group, which is a bit like a ratepayers association. So even if you don't have one of those groups in your area yet, join one of the groups from outside your area just for the information and the inspiration, because it's all a momentum thing. And they're very well, Voice of Thorold County is so incredibly popular now that there very well may be someone in that group from your municipality, because that's how popular Voice of Thorold County is now. Yeah. And so join the group and see if you can find some allies. You can say, I'm from the such and such area. Anybody else here from that area? And you might, boom, find your allies, create your group. Yeah. Another thing to think about is ratepayers associations. So they're a little more formal than these voice of groups. And a great way to learn about to find a ratepayers association or to create one is go to taxpayer.com. So that's the website of the Canadian Taxpayers Federation. Yeah. And I've had some great chats with Chris Sims from taxpayer.com. She's our Alberta representative, and she's amazing at giving people suggestions for creating a ratepayers group or building momentum for a ratepayers group. We now have one in Westlock. Yeah. And one of the things she highlights is using a petition to build momentum. I was just chatting with former MP Rob Anders the other day. He was a guest speaker at one of my conservatizing meetings, and I host these conservatizing meetings once a month on the 27th of every month. It's called Conservatizing Municipal Councils and School Boards. If you want to register for those, you go to tinyurl.com/conservatizing. One of the things Rob Anders expressed was how we can be using petitions to build momentum for things and to build our contact lists. So registration is www.tinyurl.com/conservatizing. Thank you, Kerry, for sharing that. Yeah. And so anyway, Rob Anders is one of our guest speakers. I'm hoping to have him back on a regular basis at those meetings. We've got Ken Drysdale booked for March 27th. Yep. Yep. We're likely going to hear from Sheila McFarlane. I'm already booking for the April meeting as well. And this is just a wealth of information for you to help empower you to take action in your community. And not just at the municipal level, at the school board level too.
You're right, because that's the other thing that we really haven't talked a lot about. We're so focused on government in terms of federal, provincial, and municipal, but we've often talked about getting involved in a school board. And do you know the process in that? Can you just go and knock on a school and say, I'd like to be involved, or is there more of another process for that?
It's a lot like running for municipal council. So mark this date on your calendars, October 20th, 2025. October 20th, 2025. It's a Monday. And in Alberta, that is the day that we are transforming municipal councils and school boards across this province, and the work starts now. Yes. I have a new program I'm launching as well. It's called Operation Integration. Okay, I know those are big words, but they rhyme and I like them. Operation Integration. And one of the things I've been learning about the freedom movement is we have our little groups, right? We have our wonderful APP groups. There's a whole bunch of other groups, and we love getting together with our groups and sharing ideas and getting motivated and inspired. Operation Integration is sort of the opposite of that. It means that people like you, Kerry, and people like the viewers of this show, instead of just meeting with your terrific freedom groups, your job is to join at least one group over the next month of people who are not yet like-minded. So I don't care if it's a knitting club, a chess club, or drinking volleyball, like whatever it is. Yeah. Go join a group where you are deliberately going to mix with people who are not yet like-minded. Do that over the next month. And then over the next 3 months, do your best to ingratiate yourself with the group. Don't talk politics for the first 3 months. Don't talk politics. Don't talk about Alberta pension plan right away. Don't talk about the touchy subjects yet. Not yet. Maybe the carbon tax, because chances are they'll agree with you on that, and they'll probably agree with you on food security. But don't talk about the WEF. Don't talk about the United Nations. Don't bring any of that up for the first 3 months. Just work to build relationships for 3 months. Then when the moment is right, then you start bringing up some of these issues, and you do it by asking questions to get the people thinking. So it's called Operation Integration. And so I'm going to be hosting online sessions where we train people for this. And so you don't just stay in your freedom groups with your freedom family, as wonderful as they are. You need to join at least one group and get outside and then build the relationships. So later on, when the moment's right, you could influence those people. Our school board elections are on October 20th, 2025. Our municipal council elections are that same date. We need to work now to build momentum for that. And one of the ways we work to build momentum is we mix with people who have different values than us. They have a different mindset. And gradually over time, when we get together with them once a month or once a week or whatever it is your commitment to that group is, you can have an influence on them. So just imagine if there's 1,000 people watching this call right now, and each of us joined a group, and each of those groups had 20 people in it. Okay. So 20 people that aren't in our mindset. The 1,000 people on this call could be influencing 20,000 people by the time we have those elections, October 20th, 2025. But it has to start now.
You know, growing up in Manitoba, it's funny because Manitoba is just this weird place to be. And of course, I grew up there, so I can say it, and I'll body slam someone that says otherwise. But we had an NDP government, we've had a PC government, we've had a Liberal government. It's all over the map. Versus in Alberta, it's for the most part, it's just been a conservative government, other than the Notley government. And when you have that sort of influence, you get to see how everything works in Manitoba. And one of the things that ends up really, it's a good core memory, is every job that I had in Manitoba was unionized. So I worked with an insurance company, and they had their own union. I worked with a pre-press shop, they had their own union, and graphic design, they had their own union. I used to work at Safeway, which of course is the United Food and Commercial Workers Union. Looking back on that now, with the knowledge that I have now on how all this works, I can see how unions have such an influence on how their employees vote and what they do with their spare time. And it's no wonder that we're in this situation right now in Alberta, that we're looking at how the NDP and the unions are both working towards, we were just talking obviously about the rainbow crosswalks, and there's a lot of that influence coming from the unions. And I just wanted to bring that up because I think if what we're trying to do is get people involved, and we're trying to basically infiltrate it, like you said, operation integration, that's exactly how the unions work. That's exactly how the unions work. You get people involved with the union, and then, you go bowling with them. And then the next thing you know is they're talking some sort of politics, and they're really kind of making you change your mind on that because you trust them. They're with you're as friends now. And you know what? If it ends up that we have to use their same tactics in order to convince them of our side, then I'm totally fine with that, because I think that's been happening with us for so long that I'm surprised we haven't actually come up with this plan ahead of this. So thanks for nailing that on the head, because Benita, that's exactly one of the things that we've been talking about, even in terms of the Alberta Prosperity Project, because again, a lot of people are saying when we do our meetings, like doing the pension plan meeting today, for the most part, everyone there is, we call them gray hairs. And believe it or not, I do have gray hairs in there too. So, but because of that, we are accused of basically just catering towards people that are, 50, 60 years old, and that's it. And we want the youngins to join us and see what the benefits of being in Alberta and being prosperous are. And the only way that we can do that is to do something like an operation integration, where we get them out. And I just said bowling because I used to bowl, and that was one of the bowling and curling and softball. That's Manitoba. If you don't do any of those, any one of those three in Manitoba, I question whether or not you're a Manitoban. And in Alberta, it's interesting because there are a lot of people that curl. I've associated with a lot of people that curl and play softball, slow pitch, and all that in Alberta, and that's where we really have to start getting involved, getting involved with the younger groups, and so get involved with a co-ed group, maybe as a wide range. I'm 55. I'll get involved with a group maybe 30, because anything younger than that, they're going to kill me on the baseball diamond. But I think I can keep up with the 30-year-olds, maybe ish. But that's what I would end up doing. Is I would say get involved with that, and there's so many other things. Sports is a good one to get involved with. Get involved with your community. Maybe they've got a bingo night or something like that you can get involved with as well. Our community does so many events. I live in a really great lake community in Calgary, and I know there's a lot of lake communities out there, and from my experience, they seem to have a much younger population because you move to a lake so that your kids can go swimming and they can get involved in water sports and they can go skating and all that kind of stuff. You don't see too many 70-year-olds moving into a lake community because they would be the first one to be complaining about the lake fees. I can tell you that right now because I've witnessed that. But I think that's the thing to do, is just get involved with your community, and I think it will grow from there in terms of having these conversations and getting into something like an operation integration. So that's kind of my 2 cents on that and how it kind of coordinates into the Alberta Prosperity Project. Yeah. We're at about an hour and 6, and you know what? We've had lots and lots of comments. We not a lot of questions, but I'm going to go back through and I'm going to look at some of the questions that I can possibly bring up here. Let's just
Kerry, while you're bringing that up, I just want to do a little bit of math with you. There was a municipal by-election in January, so there were multiple candidates running for each position. 2 ran for mayor, 5 of us ran for councillor seat. Okay. So what I did is I did a calculation of all the voting results, and basically from my viewpoint, a certain number of candidates are awake to the problems we face today, and other candidates are either not awake or they're playing along. Yeah. So when I tally up the votes, what I've learned is that if Westlock was the example, then that means only 30 to 35% of the people are awake, okay? Mm-hmm. And 65% to 70% of the people are either still asleep or they're playing along with that old program. Yeah. Because I'm not going to use the Rainbow Crosswalk by-election plebiscite results as the example. Right now, I'm just using the by-election results. So what I'm trying to say, Kerry, is in order for us to win on anything, we just need to win over 20% more people. That's all we need to do. We don't actually have to win them all, but we need to win over another 20% because based on the by-election results from January 10th in Westlock, we've only won 30 to 35%. And we need to get that over the 50% mark, and then we win. And we can do this. We can win another 20% of the people. It can be done.
Yeah. No, that's true. I'm just going to throw a couple of comments on here as well as questions. So Cody asks, most of my community stood up against the COVID lockdowns, but now everyone is tired, broke, and worn out. How do we get people fired up again to take the next step?
I know how to fire people up. Cody, if you're in Alberta, I'll come visit your community. If you're outside Alberta, let's do an online meeting where we get people fired up, because that's what I do. I'm like Kerry. I have a background as an entertainer, and I know how to get people going. We can do this, Cody. Yeah.
And Benita's phone number is right up on the screen, 1780-349-0181. And then there's a few comments here. So let's see. Shareware Canada says the pressure is on to change out the government and staff as soon as possible. So yes, we have to work with what we have. A new forming of a BC Conservative Party, doctors, lawyers, and all shapes and sizes. And a continuation of that one is we stopped a 5G, 6G hub tower on South Vancouver Island. The community came together and faced off with 13 mayors of CRD. I'm not quite sure what that means, but we won 3 times. So yes, you can do it. Any initiative you want to do, survey it and then do it. And that's true, right? Like you're not going to run into a fight that you know you're going to lose. Right. So by all means, make sure that you get involved and assess whether or not you can actually do this or not. Right.
Yes, and actually, I do run a meeting every Thursday night. It's called Empower BC. It's an online meeting, and it's just about increasing Conservative momentum in British Columbia, in part because this year is a provincial election year, and of course, the federal election very well might be this year as well. Yeah. So there is actually a Conservative party in BC with some great momentum. And they have 2 seats in the BC legislature already. They've got great momentum. So let's help them.
Good. And our good buddy Greg asks, hi, Benita, are you planning to get involved in the larger city elections? Each ward in Calgary has approximately 70,000 people. That's a lot different than Westlock.
In a sense, the answer is yes. I have contacts in Calgary. I have contacts in Edmonton, Red Deer, and what's happening right now is the teams are getting built and they're getting organized. So just reach out and I'll connect you, join the team. So use the tinyurl.com/team conservatize link and I'll connect you.
Yeah, perfect. Yeah, and that's right. That's 70,000 in the city election. I think I ended up running in Strathmore and Chestermere in the May election, and didn't fare well. But you know what? That wasn't the goal. The goal for me, and I've said this many times, was to get into schools and get into the seniors' homes, and that's exactly what I ended up doing. So whether or not I ingrained any knowledge into those people that were listening or not is hard to tell. But I do. One of my stories, anyways, is that I went into a grade 12 class and kind of told them on the benefits of independence, and because that's kind of what I was running on, and what was happening with the federal government and how we cannot change the federal government based on the way the charter is written right now. And as I was leaving, there was a little kid in the back who put his hand up and gave me the high five. So I connected with him, and I'm pretty sure there was a few other people in that room that may have at least gone back to their homes and said, well, we had this guy in talking at school today, and I'd like to know more about that. So at least that's kind of what I think has ended up happening. So there you go. Well, just a couple more minutes here. We're at an hour and 15 minutes, and I'd like to get back to the Westlock pension meeting that's actually taking place in Westlock. It's about a 5-minute drive from here, but I think anywhere in Westlock is about a 5-minute drive. So it's great. There's 200 people there. They actually have some tables of people selling wares and crafts and that, and just a great community thing to be doing on a Wednesday night. And if anything, that's what we should be doing anyways, right? We should be getting more involved in our communities and doing these sorts of things. Don't just go home and turn on Netflix. And actually, I had a good conversation with my daughters the other day. I'm thinking of canceling Netflix because I never watch Netflix anymore, but they've got my account. So unfortunately I can't really do that without sacrificing them, and they want to watch their show. So what am I going to do about that? Right. So, let's see, any other big questions here? No, I think that about covers it. So if anybody does have any last minute questions, please do put something on here. I'm going to get Benita maybe to close with some last minute thoughts about, well, really, again, other ideas on how to get involved and what we can do to basically help the world out, help the municipalities out as best as we possibly can. And I know it's easy to just say, just get involved, but there really needs to be some sort of plan in order to get involved. And I think
I think
ideas here. Yeah.
I think a great place to start is to express appreciation for the people who are already doing good work in your community. There's all these interesting freedom initiatives. And what I have found is a block sometimes to accomplishing something amazing is ego. It's really interesting when the ego gets involved, because someone, they might have their feelings hurt because they feel they didn't get enough credit for something or credit for an idea or whatever. And let's transcend that. We can all transcend that. I've learned a lot about transcending my own ego. I'm not nowhere near perfect yet, but I've certainly learned to rein it in. And so one of the things you can do in your community to help with positive momentum is make a point of expressing thanks and appreciation for the people who've done good work, even if they're not perfect, because none of us are perfect. And so instead of taking someone who's attempting to do something and then ripping them apart and pointing out all their mistakes and all their screw ups, instead say, you know what I appreciate about what you've done is this. And then maybe you can say, and this, and this, and this. And you'll be surprised how far just simple words of encouragement will get you. Because when I've been encouraged by people, it helps drive me to do more. And so the other thing about words of encouragement is it helps you build the relationship with the person as well. If they don't feel like they're constantly being criticized and they're getting actually words of encouragement and some praise and appreciation, well, that can be that little boost they need. And here's the other magic phrase: say this to someone who's doing good work. How can I help? How can I help?
That's right.
Give them a little bit about your skills. And maybe it's something as simple as you're going to go to one of their events and hand out flyers for them, or put the flyers on the chairs, or whatever. Say, how can I help? Here's what I'm capable of. Let's work at building and nurturing relationships with one another, the people that have our values, and work at growing the groups. Another workshop I'm considering hosting is one on team dynamics, because we have all these dynamics. So if someone gets in a leadership position, but let's say they falter, maybe it's just temporarily, but they falter, they're not perfect, because none of us are. Okay, can we just get someone else to seamlessly or temporarily step into a leadership position of the group while this person is recovering from whatever it is? And let's keep the group going. We cannot let these groups fail just because a leader lets us down at some point, or there's a ego fight going on. The work is too important. We have to carry forward, and we have to manage these team dynamics.
Absolutely. No. Just a couple of comments I was throwing up. Lots of thank you, and Benita, you're doing great work, and it's great to have you on the show, and we'll definitely have you back again to talk a little bit more, or even on the Chris and Kerry show, where we can actually do more than just talk about the actual topic. We can go on for hours with this. Karen says, we have so much anger toward the state and of our province that we found it important to get to know more about the APP and find a positive direction. That is a comment that I get almost daily, is that there are so many people out there that are just saying we should just burn it down but have no plan, right? At least with Alberta Prosperity Project, we're trying to give people a positive way of looking at what we can do and a plan, right? And that to me that's more than the sum of its parts. It's great to be involved with such a group of our volunteers, everyone that's involved in the Alberta Prosperity Project. One shout out that I'm not even sure if I've actually given publicly, and I really should, is Sean Hamilton, who is a great member of our Alberta Prosperity Project team. He is the guy that for probably the last 6 months has been going out and finding us guests for working on the webinars. And Sean, you've done a hell of a job. We've had the conversation about having Benita on. It was just a matter of time. And, this is like the perfect time for her to come on, and a perfect topic as well. And sadly, Sean is going to be leaving the Alberta Prosperity Project, but I'm trying to convince him, or maybe just if he listens to this, maybe he'll stay on. There's a lot of people that and I agree. I'm one of those where when you're trying to do something and you're devoting so much time to it, other things fall off to the side. And I know even with my business, it's been a difficult juggle, and it's been difficult being able to do these every Wednesday, or at least try and do them every Wednesday. It's difficult, especially if we're going to be doing 100 of these pension plan events over the next 3 months. To what extent I'll be involved, probably not as much as I would have a month ago. I think I'm going to just say I can't do 50 of them, or I can't do 25 of them. But if the events are in and around Calgary, or in and around Mere, or maybe Red Deer, or something that works out well for me, and especially if they don't necessarily happen on a weekend, you will be sure that I will be there. So if I am there, please do come and say hello. I'm sure if Benita is there, please come and say hi. We really enjoy talking to you guys, and because really this is a one-way conversation on these webinars. You get to ask questions, but it's really good to have those one-on-ones, and I think that's something that we definitely miss. Certainly have missed over the last couple of years, right? So with that, again, I'm going to thank all the volunteers that work for us. Benita, thank you again for the amazing work that you're doing out there. All fired up for freedom.com. You can check out a little bit more about her. Up on the bottom there, she's on X and Twitter at Benita Pederson. Yes, and I think that's the way we're going to wrap it up. Hopefully, we'll have Chris Scott back here next Wednesday. As a matter of fact, we were actually talking about who our guest is for next Wednesday, and we've actually got 2 or 3 scheduled right now. So that is going to be a bit of a juggle. So I got to figure this out for next week. Watch for the posters. Go on the albertaprosperityproject.com website, and likewise look for us on social and Facebook is a good place to find us, unless you have the great Facebook outage of 2024. That did seem to happen. Was that yesterday or was that today? Oh man, I forget. All my days get rolled together. But either way, just that's exactly the way it is, right? So when you're, I'm not going to complain about being busy. I'd much rather be busy than not doing anything. So I did nothing for about a month there, right at the beginning of the pandemic. I hate saying that. I just hate saying that word, but at the beginning of that, and that's all the rest I need. I think I'm just going to keep going and plowing forward and trying to spread the message. So,
well, you keep up the good work, Kerry. You and your team, Alberta Prosperity Project, the online events, the in-person events. Keep it up, and then, but when it's time, someone needs a break. Take the break. Just have someone else step in for a bit. If you ever need me to host a show for you, I will. I don't have all your gifts of tech yet.
I could show them to you in 10 minutes. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I think you're optimistic.
Yeah. Very funny. All right. Well, with that, thank you again, and you guys out there, if you're in the Westlock area, I'm there right now. Meet you at the event at Memorial Hall. Otherwise, I'm in and around here tomorrow, and then running around the province for the next couple of weeks. So definitely hope to see you guys soon. Okay. All right. And you guys have an amazing night, and we'll talk to you guys next Wednesday. Thanks, Benita. Thanks.